Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining this launch webinar. In today's session, we're going to announce Autopilot, our newest addition to the Front AI platform. We're going to show you how deflection at all costs is a common but misguided strategy you don't have to settle for. We'll also share Front's smarter approach to deflection and our latest platform updates to make sure you can resolve inquiries as quickly as possible. After that, we'll dive into a product demo to show you firsthand how Front AI puts you in control of AI, followed by a live Q&A, and we'll wrap with a fireside chat with one of our customers. And don't worry, this session is being recorded, and we'll share the recording with you afterwards. All right, so to kick things off, my name is Anderson. I lead the Front's Solutions and Success Services organization. I joined Front almost a decade ago when we were an itty-bitty startup to now the CX platform that serves 9,000 plus customers. And I've had the privilege of working with our customers across customer success, product management, and now solutions and services. Big shout out to my team who's watching today. Now joining me today is Kevin, Front's head of AI.
Hey, I'm Kevin, and leading AI at Front really brings together two things I love, AI and customer service. I've been building AI products for over a decade, way before it was cool, but I've also been in your shoes, having worked frontline support and also built customer service and success teams. So I'm really excited to bring AI that actually works to CS leaders like you.
And later, we're going to be joined by Erik Finch, Director of Global Operations at Boundless, who's been one of the earliest and most enthusiastic adopters of Front AI. So let's start off by going back to the beginning when we started to build Front AI. We asked ourselves one question: what would it look like if AI just worked? Now, I want you to picture your most experienced teammate on their best day. They can handle the routine stuff like clockwork, they can anticipate what's coming next, and when things get tricky, they know exactly who to bring in and quickly navigate through it. That is the high bar we set for Front AI. Our goal isn't flashy automation, it's giving every customer a VIP level experience so they feel like they truly matter.
So I've been working in AI for a decade, and I can definitely confirm that we are in the middle of a hype cycle. And the hype is that AI is supposed to deliver such accurate, real-time support that can automate away most human-to-human interactions. And the promise is AI is so powerful, you'll barely need people at all. But today's reality doesn't deliver on that promise. Many AI agents fall flat when you really need help.
Kevin, you're totally right. Just the other day, I called my internet provider to try and sort through an account issue. And I swear, it felt like I was battling with this AI agent, and no matter what I said or what combination of buttons I was mashing into my phone, I just could not get a human to actually talk to me who could solve my more nuanced problem. So I gave up because that experience was terrible. Now, the point is the potential of AI is huge because it can bring immediacy to your customers, but if it doesn't actually solve your customer's problem, it's really just creating frustration at scale. So deflection when it's right is great, but deflection as the only strategy and only option, that's totally misguided. And that's what motivated us to build Autopilot. We believe AI should work with your team, not replace it.
So what most customer service platforms get wrong is that they use AI indiscriminately. Most platforms force every single inquiry through AI. It doesn't matter whether it's basic FAQs or a high-stakes billing dispute, everything starts with a bot. The AI tries to answer everything, and only after it fails does it hand off to a human. That means 100% of your customers are forced through a gatekeeper, even the ones that never should have been talking to AI in the first place, because their issue is too complex or nuanced. So instead of building trust, you're making your customers feel ignored at the moment they need you most. The gap between the promise and reality of AI is huge because most AI agents are built for deflection at all costs. So here's how Front's approach to automation protects your customer relationships. Front AI starts by understanding what an inquiry is about. Before responding, Front AI knows whether our AI can be helpful or when it won't be. So using these messages as an example, the top two can safely go to AI because they're frequently asked questions or routine requests. But that last message, asking for an update on a recent data breach, we skip AI entirely and go straight to a teammate because AI shouldn't be anywhere near that. The takeaway is, with Front's approach to AI, you'll get the efficiency of AI without the chatbot doom loop. And more importantly, without the risk of losing that customer altogether.
Exactly. Over the last year, I've worked with customers to integrate Front AI into their processes, And it's been great to see the heads nod when we share our approach of AI-powered deflection that preserves their customer relationships. We know that protecting your customer experience is your number one priority when thinking about AI, and Front's approach gives you that peace of mind.
And that's why we're so excited to introduce Autopilot, Front's new omni-channel AI agent. It can automatically respond to common customer questions based on your past conversations or help content. And as you'll see in the live demo, you can preview its performance at a topic level and decide which topics you trust it to handle. Now, for more complex and nuanced inquiries, we're launching Autopilot Playbooks. Autopilot Playbooks gives you flexible, repeatable workflows that map directly to how your team operates. Playbooks gives you two additional advantages that go beyond simple auto replies. One, playbooks are AI workflows that can adapt in real time based on the context, tone, and account information and more. You can use natural language to make these workflows flexible, human-aware, and handle sensitive situations the way you want. Two, playbooks let you precisely guide replies. So instead of hoping that AI agent just generates the right thing, you give Autopilot exact instructions like send a message that empathetically acknowledges the delay and then explain the next steps. Autopilot then sends a reply that reflects your guidance. Now remember, deflection at all costs is not the goal. Delivering the best outcome for your customers, whether that's through AI or human, that's the goal. And so that's why our three guiding principles, which are baked into Autopilot, are: one, AI you can trust because you're in control. With Autopilot, you control automation at a topic-by-topic level to decide what AI handles and when your team steps in. Two, powerful automation but easy setup. Autopilot learns directly from your historical conversations and your help content to respond with tailored, accurate replies immediately without the heavy lift. And three, always learning as your business evolves. Autopilot will continuously improve by analyzing every ongoing conversation so your AI stays accurate and up to date.
Now, unlike many CX platforms that are now entirely focused on their AI agent, we believe the platforms surrounding AI, the handoffs, the escalations, the collaboration, those are just as important. That's why even though we're investing in our AI agent, we're still investing in Front's overall platform. We want to make sure your teams can seamlessly handle the critical inquiries that require a real live person. So here are 3 new platform updates to help your team work more efficiently, starting with expanding Front AI to new channels. Now, we know you communicate with your customers across different platforms and channels. You can't just be in one place and expect your customers to find you. That's why we're excited to announce Front AI features are now available across email, SMS, WhatsApp, Portal, and Front Chat. Now, we're not only bringing Autopilot across all your channels, but all Front AI features, including topics, Copilot, Smart QA, and Smart CSAT. Your team doesn't just live in email, and neither should your AI. It needs to be everywhere your team works, and now it is. Now, one of the other updates I'm particularly excited about is our reimagined Slack integration, which makes managing VIP support in Slack simple and scalable for your team. Now, with the new Slack integration, you can now access public and private channels, including Slack Connect channels, so you don't need to switch tools anymore just to respond. You also have new threading options. When a customer writes in multiple times, you can now automatically group those messages together in a single conversation. And lastly, you can respond and react as yourself. So when you reply or use emojis, it now shows up under your name and not a bot's. Now, the reality is your customers expect to get the same high quality response regardless of which channel they're reaching out to you on. And we're excited to make managing Slack conversations in Front easy with this update.
And finally, we're introducing an AI feature for Front admins who are helping your teams get the most out of Front every day. Now in beta and available for all plans to try out, AI can help you optimize your Front setup. Think of it as an AI guide for your Front instance. Especially if you're newer to Front, this is a great resource to help you get you up to speed. The bottom line is that while this is an early version, we'll be investing more here in the coming months. We see a feature where AI can configure your instance for you, all under your control.
All right, we covered a lot of ground. So here's a quick recap of everything we launched and what's available today. First, there's Autopilot and its playbooks, so you can automate with control. Second, we've expanded channel coverage for Front AI beyond email to SMS, WhatsApp, Portal, and Front Chat. And third, we announced our reimagined Slack integration to help you easily scale VIP support on Slack. And as an added bonus, you can now try the early version of our AI for admins. Autopilot is available as a plan add-on for 89 cents per resolution, while the new Slack integration is available on all plans. The other Front AI features vary across plans, so please check Front's pricing page for the latest. And now, for the moment you've been waiting for, let's switch over to the live demo of Autopilot and Front AI so you can see this in action. Alrighty. You should be able to see Front. So for those of you who are new here, this is Front. We are currently in a team inbox where you can manage your customer conversations across any channels. It could be email, chat, SMS, and now Slack too. For those in the room wondering, well, how do I deploy AI? What you shouldn't do is deploy a deflection at all cost strategy. Instead, you want to focus on an AI strategy where you are in control. And if there's one thing that you can take away from this demo today, it should be this. Front puts you in control of AI. And the way Front puts you in control of AI is by helping you analyze conversations with topics, assist teammates with Copilot, and ultimately fully automate with Autopilot. So let's dive into topics first. Now, if you've ever used ChatGPT, you know AI is really good at taking a lot of content and summarizing it into key points. And that's exactly what Topics does for your inboxes. With Topics, Front helps you understand your customers' needs. So if you're new here, this is how it works. Once you connect an inbox to Front, AI will automatically review all your past messages and surface common themes into topics, which you can see right here. Now, these topics can be things like outage report, damage claims, or in this case, tag rule creation assistance. Now with topics, you no longer need to spend time creating and maintaining those rudimentary keyword-based rules anymore. Now, as new messages come in, Front AI is always on and will automatically add topics it detects directly to the conversation. With topics, Front AI is taking that first step to analyze what your customers need so you know which problems to solve first. And that's just the beginning of what Front AI can do. Now, working hand in hand with topics is Copilot, which actually assists your team in getting to inbox zero as quickly as possible by generating these suggested replies. For topics, it has high confidence in. Now, these drafts are powered by Front AI's knowledge layer, pulling from sources you trust. These can be things like historical conversations, knowledge-based articles, the website, and more. Know that the more knowledge sources you connect to Front AI, the more topics it's going to be able to help with. Now with Copilot, your team is in control 100% of the time. They can take over any Copilot draft, make edits if they need to, and hit send when they're ready. Just like that. And because Front AI is always learning, any of the edits that you make to the draft will feed back into the knowledge layer that powers your AI features. So with Copilot, your team can leverage AI to accelerate their work while staying in control of what gets sent to the customer. Now that you've categorized conversations with topics, accelerated team productivity with Copilot, the last piece of Front's AI promise is agentic automation. And this is where Front's Autopilot comes in. Now, our vision for Autopilot is to fully deflect those repetitive, low-value questions that your team has to handle today. And it's not just over Front chat or email, but any communication channel your customers use. So think SMS, WhatsApp, and Portal. Now with Autopilot, Front AI is automatically resolving inquiries on topics you decide AI should handle. For example, you can enable Autopilot for a topic about resetting your password, which is what we're seeing here. But if a conversation is coming in about account deletion, you probably want a human in the loop before a reply goes out. Now, in instances where Autopilot isn't able to handle a customer inquiry, Copilot is going to be on standby, ready to step in with a suggested reply, like what we just saw in the last conversation. And for those of you who want to keep a close eye on what AI is doing, Front will also give you the tools you need to easily find and track Autopilot resolved conversations. With Autopilot, you have complete control in determining which topics you want to apply agentic automation and auto reply to. So we've talked a lot about Front AI from the user and the customer experience perspective. Let's go behind the scenes and take a look at the engine that powers Front AI. Now, if you're a Front customer, you already have access to all of this today. Your Front AI settings is really your main control center. This is where you're going to be able to add your inboxes that you want topics to proactively generate those AI insights for your team. Down below, you can enable Copilot to assist your team with suggested replies. And all the way down at the bottom here, you can see the knowledge layer that powers Front AI. The more sources you connect, the better your results. And even if you don't have a knowledge base today, know that Front AI learns from your historical conversations so you can get those tailored, accurate replies from day one without any heavy lifting. And to find a list of all your AI-generated topics, just go to Topics. So here you can review a list of the topics and quickly find the ones that are ready for Autopilot. Now, to make it really easy for you to decide which topics to enable Autopilot for, Front AI will automatically calculate a similarity score. You can see that right here. Now, to get a more granular view, just click View Samples, and you'll be able to inspect the replies that your teammate sent versus what Autopilot would have sent. So on the right-hand side here, you see the reply from your teammate, and on the left, the reply from Autopilot or Copilot. This ultimately will all give you the data that you need to build confidence in Front AI before you enable Autopilot. This gives you control over what responses you trust Front AI to handle autonomously before you enable it. Now, once you enable it, the topic will be added to a workplace Autopilot rule. Now, over here, you'll see all the topics that have been enabled for Autopilot, and on the right-hand side, you'll see actions that Autopilot is going to take. Now, if you need something that's more custom, that is when you're going to switch over to an Autopilot playbook. With Autopilot playbooks, which I will navigate to there, you can now easily create workflows using natural language prompts. Let's say you're a travel agency and you want to prioritize emails from customers who are traveling in, let's say, the next 3 days. With Ask Front AI, you can now write your own natural language prompts and evaluate the contents of that message and branch based on whether it's actually true or false. Now, once you're ready, use the reply using Autopilot. Action. This is where you can prompt AI and Autopilot on what you want it to say. Now, if you'd rather your team to be in control, you can simply update the action to create a draft instead of automatically responding. Now, I'm just going to take a quick pause here to acknowledge what a huge milestone this is. Creating a workflow like this in the past would have required a skilled front automation expert. But now, with Autopilot playbooks, it's never been easier. So let's close this out by going back to where we started. And won't you have it there, inbox 0, the way that we love it here at Front. So let's recap everything that we saw. We looked at Front AI and all the features that drive it. With topics, conversations are automatically analyzed and insights are proactively surfaced to you. With Copilot, suggested replies assist your team so they can focus on work that really matters. And with Autopilot, you can now fully automate those routine conversations across any channel using natural language prompts. For Front customers in the room, you have access to all of these features today, and you can get started in the product or reach out to your account manager to learn more. For those new to Front, if you're interested in learning more, reach out to us through the sign-up form on front.com. And now I see quite a bit of questions coming in. So let's take a few minutes to go through a handful of them together. We'll answer as many of them as we can right now, and we'll follow up to share some answers to questions in the Front community.
Okay, I see a couple of questions asking, how does Autopilot actually learn from customer conversations over time? So Autopilot learns in 2 ways. First, it's grounded in your historical conversations and connected knowledge sources. So it starts with a strong baseline of how your team operates. And then second, it continuously adapts as conversations happen. When your team edits a Copilot draft or handles a case manually, that feedback flows back into what we call the knowledge layer. And so the result is an AI agent that stays aligned with your business, even as it changes, even as you're answering new questions.
Okay, I see a few questions coming in about whether Autopilot will work for specific industries like logistics or travel over other ones. I'll answer this broadly. What makes Autopilot powerful is that it's not built for one industry, it's built for your conversations. Because it's learning from your historical conversations, as Kevin mentioned, it adapts to whatever your customers are asking, whether you're in tech, travel, logistics, or some other industry entirely different. What matters is if it's a recurring question, a repeatable process, common scenarios that customers want quick actions to, that's when Autopilot can step in. Now, the patterns may obviously look different from industry to industry, right? It could be order status updates in logistics, itinerary changes in travel, or product troubleshooting in tech. If the underlying principle, if it's the same, whether it's a repeatable repeatable conversations with very similar answers, Autopilot is going to be able to help drive efficiency while letting your team really focus on exceptions.
Okay, so I see another interesting question, which is, how do I decide which topics to automate first? So ultimately, this is your decision, right? We want to put this decision in your hands. But here are a couple things that our customers have thought about. So first, if you haven't yet, I'd recommend getting started with Copilot to get comfortable with seeing the suggestions and being which are basically the same as what Autopilot will generate and send. Second, look at the similarity score. So earlier when Anderson showed it, it said, this is what AI would generate, this is what your team actually sent. And then we also compute that as an aggregate score. And that basically tells you how closely Autopilot would match with what your team is already doing. And then third, consider the context of your business and decide how much risk there is for a given topic, right? So, in the earlier example, if there is like legal risk, then obviously that's something that you probably want humans to handle gently. Whereas if it's a password reset where you're adding no value to your relationship, then let's just get the customer helped as quickly as possible.
Got it.
Okay, so here's another one. If there are conflicting sources, which one does Autopilot go with? So right now, if sources conflict, like if multiple team members have answered the same type of question differently, or there's a difference between what team members have said and the knowledge base, Autopilot will take the safe route and just not reply and escalate that to a human. Now, if you have Copilot turned on as well, it may generate a suggested reply to start you off, but we try to take the conservative approach with conflicts. Now, over time, one of the things that we're working on is to surface these conflicts to admins so that you can verify which one should be trusted and say, all right, this is the authoritative source, let's go with this. And then that way, topics that currently may not be ready for automation will get to the point where they are actually ready for automation.
All right, I see a question in the chat about using AI to tag a message based on a prompt. And so if we're referring back to playbooks, which we just saw, know that it's part of the broader rules engine. So you can use natural language, whether it's in the action or in the if condition, to write your prompt. And so if you have a prompt that you put in the if condition, so if it's urgent, then you can take any of the regular rule actions, they all apply there. It's the underlying kind of infrastructure is the same rule engine that you're familiar with, but we've now added in a natural language prompt and natural language action reply component directly to it. Let's see.
I see Jim asking, if AI drafts aren't in their tone of voice, then they end up deleting the draft. So it's easier to rewrite and edit. Can they program that? Yes, that is in our near-term roadmap. We are working on that. We hear that very commonly. Even if the substance is right, if it doesn't sound like you, then it doesn't feel right. So we hear that and we will definitely tackle that. Maybe we'll take two more. Matthew asked, do drafts and Autopilot count against your quota or does only resolving? So we only charge for resolution. So only if we respond, like Autopilot responds to the customer substantively, and then it resolves and none of your teammates actually have to get involved, does that count as a resolution?
Cool. There's a lot of great questions in here. It is incredibly difficult to go through them. And we will actually, just as a reminder, we will get the popular questions and we'll add them to the Front Academy. So do stay tuned there. We'll send resources about that as well. Okay, I have a question here about how do we recommend communicating to customers that AI may be responding, or do you want to keep it invisible? I think this is a choice for you all, unless some compliance things come down through. But by default, an AI disclosure message will be sent with every Autopilot reply that's sent to your customer to let them know it's sent via AI. But this is a toggle that you can turn off if you choose. And you can also customize the language by the channel. We didn't show it today, but this will be available, and you can check the Help Center article on how you can actually manage that. If there's anything else, Kevin, do you have any one last question for us?
Sure.
Okay. Actually, I think that I saw a question about topics and management of topics. And so I think the question was something along the lines of sometimes the AI topic is tagging the wrong things, and I want to edit it. And so just when it comes to topic management holistically, Front does allow you to merge multiple topics together, and you can edit the naming convention of those topics as well. And so more controls, we're certainly thinking about more and more controls for topics. As you can see, it's really the starting point, the tip of the spear, if you will, for a lot of the workflows that come out later down, either Autopilot or suggested replies or playbooks even. And so those are things that we're definitely thinking about. But again, fantastic questions. Thank you all again so much for jumping in and for engaging with us. And as I mentioned before, we're going to follow up with the most common questions after this session in the Front community. So stay tuned there. Now we're excited to move to the last part of today's session, a fireside chat with one of our customers, Erik Finch, Director of Global Operations at Boundless. Erik leads teams that are reimagining legal work with technology and AI, making processes smarter and more scalable. Now, before joining Boundless, Erik spent over a decade as a US diplomat and later with the Department of Homeland Security, giving him a wealth of experience he now brings to the legal tech space. Now, we asked Erik to join today because he and his team have been some of the earliest and most eager adopters of Front AI. So welcome, Erik. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So from the last time we spoke, I know that your team is really leaned into AI. I'd love for you to share with the audience an example of how you've actually seen the team get value from it.
Yeah, I mean, one of my big hesitations with AI is very similar to the way Kevin described it earlier in the presentation, which is, I want the efficiency, I want the tech forward approach, but I also want a lot of control. In the legal tech space, it's extremely high stakes to do the customer communications work. One error, one unspecific or unclear answer can lead them to make decisions that could have a huge impact on their personal life or their family members. So we were looking for applications where we could utilize the strengths of AI, but like mitigate the possible weaknesses or risks. And I think that's exactly where Front has showed up and really helped us out. I think the other big discovery I made as I explored different AI options was, you want to find a partner who agrees with your fundamental assumptions about how this should be used. And that's why Front has really shown up for us is, the solutions they're developing, like they build on both the resources that we've developed to help our customers and also the other applications that we use Front for. So, when viewed as an ecosystem, there's just so much more here than a simple email collaboration tool. And I think that's what's really exciting.
You had told us a great story about how Smart QA was supporting your growing team. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple applications of QA of AI type, applications that are just very clearly a very strong use case, right? And doing some forms of writing, especially legal writing or technical writing, is an obvious one. But I don't think a lot of people think about QA and from a customer call center, customer success organization perspective, right? We do tens of thousands of emails, calls, and chats a day, in our organization. And not a day, maybe that's more like a month, but it's a lot, right? And no human being it would take a large team in and of itself to go through all of that information, do quality control, assess the success rate of our app. So especially phone calls, they have to be listened to. But I mean, and we have some solutions for that we use through our telephony provider. But for emails and chat specifically, having a tool within the platform to just canvas and assess all of it instantly was a huge breakthrough for us and allowed us to do what I think all of us want AI to do, which is sift through all of the administrative or logistical aspects show us what we need to know, and then we can put it in front of the team members at a higher skill level who can decide what to do with that information and where it can make the most impact.
Yeah, and just looking at the data, we see that about your team is accepting about half of the Copilot suggested replies that are being surfaced to them. Can you help the audience understand what's driving that adoption, and if you're seeing different pockets of people within your company really leaning in?
Yeah, I think for us, there's like two main categories of support that we're providing, via these channels, right? One is what's going on with my case, where are we at, what are the next steps? That's a little harder to automate because it requires, the people involved, and perhaps at some point when we automate that work, then downstream of that we can automate the communications around it. But I think the larger and more pressing concern was like the sort of legal environment with immigration specifically. How long do things take? How much do they cost at the government? What is the process? What are the things that are involved? What documents do I need to collect? All that it requires some degree of supervision because it does change periodically. But like on a day-to-day basis, most of that information is the same. And like that is the vast majority of what we're asked. Our role is to do the process for the folks that work with us, but also to help educate them. And that's one of the areas where our company has really focused a lot of resources, providing a lot of free guidance on our website and other places. But making sure that is consistently and quickly provided to individual clients and customers, that's something that we needed a lot of help with, because even any individual agent who's interacting with a client, is vulnerable to making mistakes, misinterpreting the question, not knowing the details of the specific process that they're going through. So having an AI solution to show that type of, to just look at what we've said before, which seems like a simple thing, but again, with the volume of communications we're dealing with, no easy task. But yeah, again, with smart QA checking and assessing the answers that we do provide, that's easy for it to source back up and provide in a suggested reply, or hopefully going forward an autopilot type format to say, the answer to this question is basically always the same, so we should always say it the same way, or a similar way. And yeah, there's several large categories of inquiries that fall into this bucket for us.
Can you elaborate in terms of, like, in your ecosystem, what are the categories that you think of as safe for Autopilot versus the ones that are very clearly ones that you want your human experts to handle?
Yeah, I think I'll just give a specific one, which is like one of the things that you have to do when you apply for immigration benefits with the government under certain circumstances is you have to get a full medical examination performed, and then that has to be sent in with your application to the government. And like that is a paper, product there's all these different things that go into that, right? Where do I go to get it? How much does it cost? How do I send it to you? How are you going to send it to the government? What are the different procedures if I have X, Y, and Z? So all of that information is too complicated for a template, because there's too many variables, but also it's almost too complicated for an agent to account for every possible eventuality. So this is like a great place where like AI swoops in, where it's like, yeah, it can to some extent like assess based on what we've said before, what the combination of these variables should apply to this case, and then serve up that information. And that's one of the categories that I've confirmed in topics, like it does very well. So that's where we look for like a little bit more complex, like automation opportunities. Yeah, password reset, sure, anybody can figure that out, right? But like something like this that's like kind of still specific to that customer, but within that is somewhat consistent, based on their circumstances. That's a great opportunity for us. I think the category where and I think you kind of addressed this with the urgent workflow. The category where we want to continue to provide a human, as a first priority is like the empathy world, where people are frustrated or they need a human touch. Simple request for information. Most people are satisfied when they get the right information, and they like getting it fast. And therefore, AI is palatable in that circumstance, as long as it's accurate, right? But yeah, the empathy branch, we want to continue to provide upfront service and show up for our clients in that situation. But even within that, AI can help us, right? Because it's also quite good at identifying when that is a factor and routing it accordingly. So yeah, there's a lot of AI use cases here. again, not in the front of the whole process, but in the sorting and interpretation, I think is where I see the biggest opportunities.
Yeah, and earlier you mentioned that like your team is actually going through and reviewing the performance topic by topic, and that's so critical, right? Because you have the judgment to know whether or not like this set of automation like is good as is, in which case you could turn it on for auto reply, or the answer is like mostly right, but it depends, right? In which case maybe you can use playbooks. Or in this case, like this is pretty tricky. It requires empathy. This should actually just go straight to the team, right? And so
100%.
your investment in that is also probably a big portion of why you get more value out of it.
Yep, I agree completely. It's that control aspect is night and day for us. We just if I think in the conversations we've had, that's always been my focus is like give me the knobs and levers to really understand this and feel confident that it's doing what we want. That's key for implementation and also getting team buy-in.
Cool. I was looking at the audience Q&A, and one question that they have for you, just as leaders in the room who are really early in their AI journey, what is your recommendation to them on where to get started?
I can kind of jump in, and then Kevin, I'll be interested in your thoughts. But for us, it was really about like I think trying to pick up these tools and implement them piecemeal was not a success. This includes front, but also other things. Like you can't look at your entire company's AI strategy in isolation. Like you really need to like identify what are the foundational principles that we're using to employ AI, like where are the use cases that we think are most likely to be successful, and then delineating some clear ownership and also implementation planning, right? Like I think if I think about front specifically, and I think that's also kind of my message for this audience is, this is very easy to set up, and it's very easy to control, which was important. But implementation is going to be something that front can't do for you. So having a key owner, having an implementation plan, having a champion for this tool and the things and the ways it works, like you will get a lot more out of it if you approach it that way. And I think that's true of all the AI tools. I think everybody's looking for that silver bullet solution that just fixes every problem in there. And that's what Kevin mentioned on the hype train. It's like I think as long as you imagine it that way, you're never really going to get the impact that you're looking for. But if you look at it as a tool, which front in general and it's all its suite of features is a tool to do what we from a customer communications perspective, like to do that job better. Then this is within that, like one of the key features that will allow you to finally recognize some impact and efficiency from an AI solution.
Yeah, I think just what you're speaking about as it relates to like implementation, having a plan, thinking about this holistically, it speaks so true to me. One of my teams is the implementation team. And so, we're partnering with customers. And I think one of the things that we see with customers is it's not buying this tool. And like you mentioned, it's not a silver bullet. You can't just buy and then magic happens. You really need to think about this in a long-term horizon. This is an iterative process. Many of the AI companies out in Silicon Valley very much are thinking about, okay, how do we help you, solve this one topic, and then you move on to the next one and the next one and the next one. So if you don't have a team, if you don't have a strategy that's holistically tackling AI deflection, but in a way that you have control, and that's what we do with topics, it's going to fall flat, right? There is no plan, there's no action. Over at Boundless, do you have a team, someone who has a remit to continue to think and approach this AI deployment holistically? Or is that your job?
We have a small team, and I'm one of the members. And yeah, I think this. I've read a few articles in different magazines and things from experts on like how they think these kind of programs can actually move forward. And yeah, we have a small team of leaders at our company who are committing to certain solutions, front being a key partner, and then we're making long-term plans to maintain and expand upon those, and also explore. There's always the build versus buy discussion, right? What should we as a company be focusing on developing, and then what should we be utilizing the expertise of partners to do better? And I think for us, front is certainly in the second category, which is like we're not, we're an immigration legal tech company. Like we're not going to develop an industry leading approach to customer communications. So we want to partner with somebody who is, and that is why I'm here having this discussion. But for our piece, there's also some things that we're developing internally that help us with the parts of our work that we think Boundless has a differentiator and can do better than anyone else in the industry. And we're excited about those as well. So yeah, that would be my suggestion is get the people in the room at your company who can make changes around these new tools and initiatives, and then commit to that, and then find a way to track implementation is the other one. That's the other thing that Kevin and I have talked about is like we don't just shoot these things out into the void and hope they work. Like we once we have them set up and we've instructed the team on how to use them, we want to make sure that is actually happening, and get some visibility on how it's improving the team's work, because that's the kind of questions I get when I show up with these kind of proposals or tools for my executive team. It's like, okay, Erik, how are we going to assess the impact? How are we going to measure that? Where is this going to show up in our metrics, in our revenue? These kind of things. So yeah, I think that's really important to think ahead of.
Yeah, and using feedback from Erik and other customers, we do have a dedicated analytics tracking report for both Autopilot and Copilot coming out in October. So yeah, no, thank you for the feedback there. Yeah, I mean, to the point you made a little bit earlier about build versus buy, though we have a lot of customers that have certainly dabbled. It's actually really easy to build proof of concepts with AI. And I think it's exactly what you said, like what is core to your business, what is core to the business logic, and you have capabilities and expert knowledge when it comes to what are these legal processes. And front will never will never like be able to build that logic, right? So if you need anything in particular for that's core, that's special sauce that you have, then of course like that should be more of a build type of discussion. Whereas when it comes to the routine workflows that maybe already occur inside front, then I think that's within our mandate of helping you try to automate that.
Yeah, and I think what's cool is we can have our cake and eat it too, because like with the knowledge management tools like knowledge base and the ability to like bring in different knowledge sources on Autopilot and Copilot, we can control the knowledge portion and deploy it effectively on front. So going back to what Anderson described about how this functionality can ladder across different industries, I think our front instance and the way we work with our customers can serve up like industry leading and cutting edge legal guidance and advice that's monitored and updated by attorneys. But for another type of company I think that's really the key brilliant feature for me is it's just building off what we're already doing, and just serving that up to customers in a way that helps us automate, but also gives us full control over where that knowledge is coming from and how it's being provided and updated.
Got it. All right, I'm just taking a look at the time, and I just want to first thank you, Erik, for sharing all this super valuable insight to us. It's always great to hear Front's perspective, but we love connecting with our customers and obviously partnering with teams like yours to deploy AI. We're a partner in building our technology. We want to make sure our customers are front and center, no pun intended, in that process. So thank you again for joining us. And I'll just close out with a wrap. We've covered a lot, from Autopilot and playbooks to our new Slack integration, and we really can't wait to see how you all put these features to work. If you're already a Front customer, the good news is that you can already start using these features today because they're in the product. And if you need some extra help, just reach out to your relationship manager or the support team and they'll put you in touch. And if you're not using Front yet, we'd love to show you more. So just head over to front.com and request a demo. We'll be sending out the recording later today, and you can revisit and share it with your team. So yeah, super excited, and thank you again for joining.
Thanks again for spending time with us. Really excited about what's ahead, and thank you for being part of the journey. See you next time.
See ya.